Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I am your host, Haley Hayhurst. In this episode, I speak with money, manifesting, and mindset coach, Sandy Forster. We chat about law of attraction, taking action, even if it's messy action, and really all things mindset and manifesting. This episode is for you if you're ready to take action on the things that you desire. I really love this episode because Sandy shares kind of her journey from leaving the corporate world to starting a business of swimwear and then getting $100,000 in debt. And so her journey has really been a powerful one of being on welfare to becoming what she calls wildly wealthy. A little bit more about Sandy. Sandy is the money mindset mentor for women worldwide who are ready to experience more abundance, prosperity, and money in their life. Sandy went from welfare to millionaire and was featured in Oprah's Aussie Secret and loves inspiring and empowering women to break free through their blocks, attract abundance, and experience time and money freedom to make their hearts sing. Sandy is also the host of the Wildly Wealthy Women podcast and has transformed hundreds of thousands of lives around the world. If you want to connect with Sandy, all of her links are in the show notes. And before we get into the episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about my online course that I have called Great Guesting: How to Be an Unforgettable Podcast Guest. This is for you if you want to start being a guest on podcasts but are not sure where to start. We cover everything from the tech portion of like how to set up to be ready for a podcast, all the way to how to actually find podcasts to be on, how to pitch yourself, how to show up and be unforgettable when you're on these podcasts. Because if you are being a guest on podcasts and you're not really seeing results, or maybe you don't know where to even start, this is really for you. Every podcast that you will be on, you should have a goal for it. And if you're not sure of that goal, that's really what this course helps you with. It's a very low cost course with a high payoff, so definitely check it out. The link will be in my show notes. You can also find more information, or you can contact me through my website, Espresso Podcast Production, or come find me on Instagram, same name. Let's get right into this episode with Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Thank you so much for joining me on the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I am very excited to talk to you too, and especially all your listeners who are in that place where they're looking to do something for themselves. That is an exciting place to be. So yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, and I think what we're going to talk about today is going to be so interesting for them to learn about. So if you wanted to start off by telling us who you are and a little bit about how you started your business.
Okay, so my name's Sandy Forster. I'm from the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. And how did I start my business? Well, I had a job initially, and honestly, it felt like jail. My number one value is freedom. And so working in a job where you had to turn up at a certain time, stay there all day, and then leave at a certain time just was too much for my spirit. So I got that job straight out of school, and I realized very early that I wanted to be able to do my own thing. I loved weekends. I moved from the coldest state in Australia, or one of the coldest in Australia, to one of the warmest. And so I felt like going to the beach on the weekends was my big thing. Like, I loved it so much. So I wanted the freedom to be able to do that whenever I wanted, to be able to do the things I wanted to do when I wanted to do them. So I kind of fell into my own business to start with. So a friend of mine had bought a really nice bikini, and I really liked sewing. And I thought, oh, I'm going to try and make that. So I went and bought some Lycra, and I kind of fumbled around and made a very hack job, but made a bikini. And then someone else said, oh, I'd like one of them. So I ended up making another one, and then someone else did. And then somehow along the way, I got this brilliant idea to buy stacks of Lycra and create lots of bikinis and sell them all. So that was my first actual business, designing and selling swimwear and gymwear. And basically what I used to do was sew out of my garage all weekend, and then I would sell it over summer in a shop that was empty. So that was my first real, what I call real business. Prior to that, though, the aerobics era had come in, and I loved aerobics, and I tried to find aerobics because I used to watch Jane Fonda on TV, and I tried to find aerobics classes that were local, and there were none. Like, they just didn't have them in Australia. And so I actually started my own because I also liked exercise. So I figured, well, I can just make them all up, which I did. And now you have to be certified and go through all these things. But back in the day, you didn't. So that was really, I wouldn't say that was a business, although it did make me money, but it was more like you only did one class every few days. And so it wasn't actually a proper business. So, but everything that I've done business-wise, I've done from the place of, I guess, something that I really like to do. And then I created a business around it, just like my existing business now. So I ended up, me and my great previous business ideas, ended up $100,000 in debt and on welfare. And like really didn't know how to turn that around, and ended up joining a network marketing company to start with. But the product itself was based on the law of attraction, which like totally blew my mind, because being $100,000 in debt and on welfare, and then discovering that what you think about and what you focus on and where you put your energy is what you then create or attract into your world, like that just like, whoa, it meant that me, Sandy from the Sunshine Coast, who dropped out of high school, didn't even finish high school, was able to actually do something different with her life and create something amazing without being like have all these degrees behind me or all these business skills or all the things that people normally think they need. So for me, that was really, really exciting. So basically discovered the law of attraction, started marketing the course, did really well. And then the company folded. So then I kind of went off and trained to be a life coach. And from life coaching, I then created my own courses and wrote my own book and created my very first online course. So this is an online course that I just thought up out of nowhere, spent no money on marketing it, and made, what was it, over $2 million on that first course. So, and again, I'm someone who had no formal business training, had no real knowledge of what I was doing. I just get out there and make things happen. I do things. I sometimes, and that sometimes works good, sometimes works bad. But the bottom line is I have a dream, a desire, a goal. And rather than sit down and create a very formal business plan about how to get started and what I should do, I just start to dream big, because I know that if I put enough energy and thought and feeling into what it is that I want and imagine what it's going to be like, I know that I am then supported by the universe, by the divine, by God, by the metaphysical, whatever you want to call it. But I know that I'm supported, and I know that can come to fruition when I'm focused. So that's why I love what I do now. That's what I teach people. I teach people how to really get their mind into that place where they're rewiring at a very sort of scientific level their subconscious mind, and then tapping into the universe to get the support. And the two together, I always say, when you marry the practical with the metaphysical, that's where the magic happens. So that's kind of how I fell into what I'm doing now, just doing something I love, and it's created a whole business around it.
I love that. That's so cool how, you just followed these ideas that you had that maybe you wanted to pursue and then turned it into a business. And it sounds like you kind of just trusted yourself and trusted the process all the way through. And, now you are where you are. I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to learning more about law of attraction from you. That's one of the words that I've heard a lot recently, where people talk about the power of law of attraction and why you need to get into it. But from your perspective, can you tell us what that is and maybe how we can start practicing that?
Sure. So law of attraction, I love it. Like, I love it from as I said, a metaphysical perspective, but I also love it from a scientific perspective. I think we live in a really amazing time in that science is now validating a lot of the things that the ancients have known forever about power and focus and your thoughts, and a thing called the quantum field. And that's the very scientific side of it. So the quantum field is made up of energy. Everything in the world is made up of energy, whether it's, your desk and your computer and your microphone and your light, or whether it's a tree, like a living thing. But we too are made up of energy, and we're made up of all these atoms and subatomic particles and quarks and photons and but basically at the core of everything, everything is energy. And like energy attracts like energy. So what you think about, because the other thing is your thoughts are also energy. And when you think something, and it's not just, I'll get to what makes thought actually powerful, but when you think something, you put that out into the quantum field, and things that are not yet created or manifested, you can then attract back into your life. But this is where people get it wrong. They think they can just sit around and think about what it is that they want and it's going to drop into their lap. No, 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 no. It's all about aligning your body, mind, and spirit. That's the real key. And that's what I love to teach people. So your body is your actions. And this is the thing that most people get wrong. They understand they've got to think about what it is they want. They've got to focus on that. They've got to put their thoughts on the dream, the goal, the wish, whatever it is that they have that they want to bring into their life. Most people get that part. Then some people get the next part, which is your feelings. So it's, when I say body, mind, and spirit, it's all about your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. So your thoughts, most people get. Your feelings are the thing that a lot of people miss. Your feelings have an energy. They really kind of, it's almost like they turn on the thought. They allow the thought that you think to actually reach the ears of the universe. You need energy behind a thought. Otherwise, it's just like, think of how many thoughts you think in a day. So I don't know, it's 65,000. There's been a number bandied around.
Yeah,
but there's
it's
a lot
definitely
of
a
thoughts.
lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts that happen during your day. So if every thought you thought suddenly became a reality, oh my gosh, our lives will be like insanity. So there is this sort of something you have to put behind it to actually make the thought happen. And most people spend most of their life thinking about what's going wrong, what could go wrong, what did go wrong, and they wonder why they keep creating the same thing in their life. They are marvelous manifestors. They are actually creating, but it's what they don't want. So what you do is you focus on what you do want and you put energy behind it. You put that energy, and when I say energy, you don't just think, let's say, for instance, when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, one of the things I really wanted was a new car, because the car I had was so old and rusty that when it rained, it leaked so much that I ended up with a plant growing in the back seat between my two kids.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it was really tragic. So I really wanted a new car. So I'll give you the example. So instead of just thinking about the car and thinking how nice it'd be to have the car, instead, I really got into the feeling place of it, feeling like I was in the car and driving the car and looking out through the window and feeling how great it was to know that it didn't matter how much it rained, because I live in a tropical area.
Mm-hmm.
So when it rains, it rains. So just being able to be in a car that was always dry and clean and beautiful and safe and always started when I wanted to, and that feeling of gratitude and anticipation and just real bliss, knowing that I had a car that I could totally rely on. So I'm thinking about the car, but I'm also feeling as if it's already in my life, getting really excited about it and feeling that feeling as if I already had it. So that's the thoughts, and then there's the feelings. And then it's the actions. Remember, it's body, mind, and spirit. So thoughts, feelings, and actions. So the actions is I went down to the local car yard and I looked at all cars, and then I took a car for a test drive. Mind you, I'm $100,000 in debt and on welfare, and there's no way that, I could buy a car. So I took the car on a test drive, and I told them that I didn't actually like that color. I wanted this special silver color. They told me someone who had purchased one about 20 minutes away. So I actually drove, I don't know why they did this. I don't think you could do it these days, but I drove to their address. I saw their car. I got out of my car, went to their car, got my friend to take a photo of me lounging on their car, the silver car that I wanted, then quickly got back in the car, drove off. And I used to look at that car and imagine I was in that car and dream of that car. And literally within a matter of months, I was actually back at the car yard. I was buying my new car. And it was simply because I had thought about it, I'd felt it, and I'd taken action. And the action was taking those practical actions, but also the business that I was in at the time. I was suddenly able to make a lot of money. I was going on a holiday overseas. I was able to buy my car. It was like, it really is a matter of, too many people think, as I said before, they sit around, they understand that what you think about is what you can create, but that's all they do. They meditate and they visualize, and they've got affirmations and a vision board, and they've got all the things, but they're not feeling as if it's already in their life, and they're not taking action toward it. You've got to take practical action. And that's, when you combine those three, as I say, that's when the magic can really happen.
Yeah, that's such an incredible story. And I'm going to need to start doing all three of those steps for the law of attraction. And you're totally right. Like, a lot of people think about what they want, but then they don't actually go after it and take that action. And I think like that aligned action is so important in life and business and all the things that you were talking about. And from what it sounds like, once you got your mindset in check and did all these three steps, things started happening for you
And this is the
quickly.
key. You're so right. Things started happening. And it's not like I planned out the
Mm-hmm.
things. It's like, I always teach people, we learn this principle. What is it? Ready, aim, fire.
Mm.
That's the principle we learn. You come up with an idea, you get everything prepared, all perfect, all your ducks in a row, everything just right, and then you get started. Well, I like to kind of mix that up a bit and come from a different angle. I'm all about ready, yes, get ready, have an idea, have a thought, decide what you're going to do. Fire, like just get going, do something, make it happen, and then aim is the last step. So that's when you tweak, you make better, you improve, because, and this is how a lot of entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs sabotage themselves. They get stuck in the aim. So if they're doing ready, aim, fire, they get stuck in the aim for so long. They never get around to doing what they want to do. They start to second guess themselves. They look at everyone else who's doing it and think, oh, well, I can't do that because they're doing it. Or they just talk themselves out of actually creating success or starting that business. Even just getting started, they just talk themselves out of it because they get into procrastination and analysis paralysis and just completely just, self-sabotage, never build the dream that they want, never able to live the dream that they really want to live, because they basically, their brain, their logical mind gets too involved. And that's why I love the
Mm-hmm.
ready, fire, aim, because then your creative side can just take off and you can fix things up later.
Totally. I love that. And I interviewed someone a while back and they were talking a lot about messy action, like just taking action. It could be messy, whatever it is. And that kind of sounds like similar steps that you take. And so I absolutely love that. And I think that you're totally right. That's how a lot of entrepreneurs sabotage themselves. They
Yeah.
think everything has to
And
be perfect before they even
exactly. And the thing
start.
is, there's opportunities out there all the time. And this is why I say, when you take that action, that any action at all, it doesn't even have to be the right action, because I've taken a lot of wrong action in my life, let me tell you. It's not like I come up with an idea and every idea I have is the golden goose. Yes, I have had ideas, and I've had numerous ideas that have actually created millions and millions of dollars. And it's like, if I had stopped and tried to figure out the steps that would take me to that, I would never have been able to. But I just come up with the big vision of what I want, how I want my life to be. It's not even necessarily how I want my business to be. It's how I want my life to be. Like, where do I want to live, and what do I want to do, and how do I want to spend my time, and who do I want to spend my time with, who do I want to help, how much money in my life would make my life just amazing. Like, you think of the big picture, and then what happens is, as you said, inspired ideas, inspired action. So then what happens when you really just spend a lot of time focusing on the end result, how you want things to be, then ideas and opportunities and circumstances and people and connections and resources, they all appear to you. Now, this isn't some magical hocus pocus thing. What happens is, and I'm not going to get into the whole specifics of it, but basically we have an area in our brain that filters things in and out, filters things out of our life or into our life. And what happens is, it's like if you're talking about how life is challenging and you don't know how you're going to create your business, you don't know how you're going to build it, and you don't know where you get clients, and you don't know this, and it's like blah, 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 all the negative stuff, you're basically saying to your subconscious, all this stuff is stuff I have to be aware of. I have to be aware of not being able to get clients and not having enough money and not having time and all like, and so your subconscious goes, okay, no problem. We'll filter out anything good and we'll make sure that that's what you experience because you're telling us, your subconscious, this is important. And that's what happens. It's the reticular activating system. So what happens is if instead you say, I'm going to focus on having lots of clients and having a successful business and living in my beautiful home and driving a great car and being able to travel when I want and really enjoying my life and having the time to do all the things that make my heart sing. And you focus on that, what you're actually doing, yes, you're putting it out into the quantum field. Yes, you're tapping into the metaphysical, but you're also rewiring your subconscious mind that those are the important things. And that's why you will go out into the world and those opportunities and circumstances of people, etc., that were already there all the time, but you are filtering them out, suddenly you see them. And that's it. It sounds like magic, but it's actually science. So it's really amazing the way the mind works. And when, as I say, combine that with the metaphysical, magic.
I love that. That's super awesome. For anyone who's maybe hearing about law of attraction for the first time, or maybe they're like, wow, I do sabotage myself in that way. What are maybe some of the first steps that they can take to learning more or embracing this, going more all in on it?
Yeah, I think there's a few things they can do. I think, first of all, you want to get really clear on what it is you actually want your life to be like. So, and that means, not all the little specifics about, okay, I want my business and I need this many clients. I need not all that stuff. Think big picture. And this is the thing I love about the law of attraction and quantum physics is that it's always about the big picture. And I'm really good at thinking about the big picture, how I want my life to be and what I want to do. And that's how I've manifested so much. So think of the ideal outcome that you want your life to be. And then I would highly recommend finding a mentor or a community that is like-minded. So, and when I say a mentor, I don't mean go out and pay someone to mentor you. I mean, if they've got books or a podcast or a course or, free webinars, whatever, but tap into that because the more you learn from someone who's done what you want to do, then what happens is you start to believe more. And this is really important when it comes to mindset and the metaphysical. When you believe more, you create more. When you believe more, you are able to evoke those feelings of when you envision your ideal life, you're actually able to really evoke those feelings as if it's already happened because your belief is up so high. So tap into someone that's already done it, learn as much as you can. Then I would definitely say you have to take action. And I talked about that before. You've got to take action. You can't just sit around and meditate and expect $1 million to drop into your lap. Okay. But then I think the last thing is really be persistent. Like, don't give up. I think it's very easy to look at a lot of other people out there who suddenly overnight become these massive sensations and make a lot of money and do everything seems so easy. And you think, well, who am I? Like, who am I to be able to do this? And no one's going to listen to me. And what am I doing? And, blah, blah, blah. The whole negative self-sabotage comes in. But just understand that if it's something you really want to do, and when you think about it, you get like a bubbling in your stomach, okay, your solar plexus, that is basically your future self, your higher self saying to you, we've got it waiting for you. It's here. Just keep coming, keep taking steps. And so that feeling, and I don't mean the feeling of panicked excitement, like panic, like you come up with an idea, it's like, oh, I've got to do this right away. I mean that feeling, that beautiful, luscious, like butterflies, but in a nice way feeling. That is literally you, your future self, calling to you and saying, keep going, keep going. This is waiting for you. We can see it all. We know how it's going to be. Keep going, keep taking those steps. Because the bottom line is when you come up with a great idea, and it doesn't even have to be a $1 million idea, just an idea. Because when I first started, and here I am now, I've made tens of millions of dollars. But when I first started, My whole focus at the start was just to be able to get out of debt and work in the personal development industry. I loved the idea of that. And that's how I started as a coach. And from coaching, I then realized that I love group coaching. And then from group coaching, I realized I loved really focusing on prosperity and law of attraction. And from that, I realized I had a lot of skills and I wrote a book. And from the book, I then created an online course. And then from the online course, I then created a whole training center where I now train people to be law of attraction coaches. So they're internationally certified. But I never at the start, before I started all that, when I wanted to be a coach, I never thought all the way through to the end of being a coach. I just thought about the dream life. And I never thought all the way through to the end of being a best-selling author and having $1 million business and all the things. I just wanted to get out of debt and work in the personal development industry. And what you find is if you take steps, just those little initial small steps and persist, then the universe will unveil the next step and the next step and the next step, and things will grow. But I think too often, especially in this day and age, everyone is looking for the overnight, fast, quick fix, get rich quick scheme and think it's going to be like just bingo. But even with the support of the universe, it can take a little time. And that's what business is about. There's good days, there's bad days, there's ups and downs, but you have to be persistent. So I really think those things, get really clear on what your ideal dream life would be, find yourself a mentor, take action and be persistent.
I absolutely love those. Thank you so much for sharing. And totally, that's the ready, fire, aim system that you were talking about. That's how you got to where you are now. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. I, I am a podcast producer, so I love podcasts, and you have your own podcast. Do you want to tell
I
us a little bit
do.
about it? And
Yeah. So my podcast is called Wildly Wealthy Women. And it is all about being wildly wealthy, and it's all about money, manifesting, and mindset. And it's a little bit of everything. At the moment, it's just me talking, sharing all my tips and secrets, but I really want to, in the future, start to bring on other wildly wealthy women and, get their insight into what they did to create their wealth. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm very, very inconsistent. Like I know people who do a podcast every week. I do one and then might do it for a few weeks, and then I've got a 6-month gap and then I start up again. But my plan this year is to be more consistent. That was the other thing that I really wanted to let people know. You don't have to be a structured, organized business person to actually create success, because I am so far from that. I am just me who does what I love to do, and somehow this business has been created around it. And I have no structure, no plan, but I just things seem to happen because I'm always tapping into the universe. So yeah, but I am taking action. I'm always taking action, even without a plan. So just know that you don't have to be a special type of person to start a business. You just have to have an idea and take action on it.
awesome. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. And I'll definitely link your podcast in the show notes. Where else can people find you and connect with you, Sandy? And maybe if they want to work with you, kind of what offerings do you have?
Yeah, I love to share that. So the best place to find me is probably on my website, wildlywealthy.com. But I also have a little freebie for your listeners if they want to sort of get started doing a little bit of mindset work. So I've got some affirmations, a beautiful guided visualization, and they can get that at wildlywealthyfree.com. But on my website, wildlywealthy.com, is where they can find out about the different courses I have. And the two main ones are Divine Money Manifesting, which is a 12-week program, which really helps people to get really clear on what they want, helps them to completely break through their money blocks and really start manifesting their dreams and their desires. It's a really powerful program. And then for anyone who actually wants to become a law of attraction coach, I have a 10-month training and certification program. We've got I think there's about 1,500 coaches all around the world now. And I love that because for anyone that does love the law of attraction, we dive really, really deep. But we also give them all the practical skills to have their own fabulous coaching business that they can do from home or wherever they want. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I could talk to you for hours about all of these different things, about how, you got your success and really more about, attraction and things like that. But I've loved everything that you've shared. It's really just been like a high level overview of, 101 course on law of attraction. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing with us today.
My pleasure. And I think one thing I really want to leave people with is understanding that, some people might look at me and think, oh, well, she's different. She's gone from welfare to millionaire and she's so lucky and she must have done something special. But I think I really want people to know, as I said before, I'm just Sandy from the Sunshine Coast. I did not even finish high school. I dropped out of high school. I had no connections. I had nobody I knew with money. I couldn't get any money anywhere. I had no great skills even. And yet, by utilizing the law of attraction and taking action, my life has completely transformed. And I figure if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I really want to leave that with all your listeners because, they might be sitting there thinking, oh, well, I don't think I've got what it takes. I didn't think I had what it took. But by using the law of attraction, it really made a difference. So yeah, I hope your listeners really dive in and take advantage of that visualization and the affirmations and just the little starter things that I have at wildlywealthyfree.com because it will make a difference.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the show notes, and I'm also going to look into that because that's so interesting to me as well.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much again, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.